So today, guys, we're going to be doing a bunch of wiring. It's going to try to make it as interesting as I can, but I know wiring isn't, it's not the most thrilling thing in the world, but going to be doing some other things as well. I got to finish up like the heat shields on the shifter and, a few other miscellaneous things that I wanted to do, and we'll see how far we get today. So let's get at it. Here's the shifter all bolted in, got it all assembled, it's all painted, all that stuff. I cut the carpet a little bit so it actually like fits over that as well as the insulation to kind of shield it from heat. Still got to work on the center console, but I'll show you the underside and then you can see where I'm going with that. I can see the finished product all painted up, all bolted in. Just use some zip ties and get it away from the exhaust. Might stay like that permanently, I don't know, maybe I'll bracket it up. I think at some point I'll probably have to heat shield, wrap this in some heat wrap or something, but I still need to put the heat shielding up in here, so I'm gonna have to do some cutting, so I might, we'll see if I can start working on that. So you can see I got the exhaust shielding in here now, and everything fits really fucking well. I was able to get every single heat shield on there, and actually this one right here, I was able to cover up all of this part of the shift cables. I mean, granted, this is still probably the closest part and probably needs shielded, but still, I mean, this was, not only is it shielding it from heat, but it's actually holding it a little bit, like it's kind of touching like way down here, and it's pulling it over in addition to the zip ties. So this worked out really well. I just cut a hole for the shift cables here. I got a little torchy when I was heating up the header before, so it melted through it a couple spots, but that's all right. She'll still work. I'm really amazed how well this heat shielding actually fit back in there. All right, now that I've got the shifter finalized, I got those heat shields in, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna put this driver's side axle in now that I've got that RSX axle that I can put in. I still don't have my intermediate shaft. I need to call my buddy about that. He's slacking, but we're gonna get this axle in there, make sure everything's okay, and then we're gonna move on to the next thing. Okay, so this is the DC Integra axle, and then this is the RSX axle. I mean, if you look at them next to each other, they're almost the same. When you stack them on top of each other, the Integra axle is a little bit shorter. The main difference that I really see between the two is if you look at the splines, the RSX actually has splines right here, and this one's smooth. So I don't know if maybe that's what he was talking about. That's the only thing that, is the difference that really matters, I guess. But either way, I'm gonna throw it in. There is a dust shield on this one. I'm gonna pull that off, and then, throw it in. So the RSX base model axle went right in. Everything works pretty well. I think that should do the job. All right, so moving on. I'm gonna start working on that wiring harness. Like you guys, I had shown you before, I got that K-swap like RSX tuck harness, like that cheap one off eBay. I'm gonna have to go through all the wiring and make sure everything goes to where it needs to go. But in the meantime, I'm gonna start working on fitting the harness to the engine. And then I'm going to work on the adapter harness that I already made, which unfortunately I didn't make a video on it because I hadn't started YouTubing, this build until after I'd already done that. But it's a basic, like if you look it up for like K-swap adapter harnesses, like you can find, there's a whole wiring diagram out there. I think it was K-tuned, I believe, that had a wiring diagram for it. That was basically, it was like a relay harness for just like a race car or something. And I've used it on several cars. It works great. So we're gonna start putting the harness in there and start figuring out where everything needs to go. So one of my first things that I was trying to figure out is where I wanted to run the harness. There was a couple different options. I had thought that, you could run it back through here where the original harness was, which the problem that I have with that is it's a really tight fit. And unfortunately, when I had the engine out and I was kind of looking into it, the only way you can really get through there easily is you have to take the wiper motors out, like the whole linkage and everything. Well, there's a bolt right here, and then there's a bolt right here. And what I found is the only way we can get it out is by taking this firewall piece out. And then it's like you got to have your hand in a really weird position to kind of get to these two bolts. And I was like, I don't like it. Because even after you have those out, it's still tricky to get out of the car. So I think I'm not going to try that. I thought about drilling a hole over here, but I was like, it's not ideal to be drilling a hole right there. There's not a really good way to get a drill in. So I started looking around. I found that right down in here, which you can kind of see that hole right there, that's originally where one of the O2 sensor wiring clips came through. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it through that hole, because if you look on the inside of the car here, it basically comes in right under the brake pedal, and it's low enough that the wiring will be out of the way of all the pedals. It's not gonna be in the way of anything, and it'll come out right next to the fuse box, which is where the fuel pump relay is. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm gonna mount the ECU right here, because there's plenty of spare room, I've noticed, when you put that cover on there. So I should have tons of room. So I pulled the seat out and this side panel and pulled the carpet back so I could get to it. And now I'm gonna start messing with it and see what we can do. Okay, so this is what I got working on now. You can see the wiring harness is ran through down there. I've got it kind of wrapped into here. Jesus Christ. Here's the adapter harness I was talking about with the relays. Obviously I still need to do all that. Basically at the moment I'm trying to figure out where to put the ECU. At the moment I'm going to be using Haltech. Mostly just because I have it, because I was going to use it for another car. I'm still planning on using it for the other car, so this Mini may get another Haltech, or it might get K-Pro, I don't know. But at the moment, this will work. So what I'm trying to do is I think I'm going to mount it like up in here. It's about the only place I can find that'll kind of work. So I'm going to make some sort of bracket that goes from this thing over to here to bolt it here. And then after that point, I'm not sure. I'm going to work on the first bracket and then go from there. Did a little nut cert on there so I can screw a little tiny bolt in there to hold that Haltech. Okay, you can see I've got that one bracket holding it in there. It's up in there pretty well. Just that one bolt and then the nut cert like I was talking about. You can see it's tucked in there pretty well. I already test fit the kick panel right there, then like the knee pad or whatever. It fits with plenty of clearance. So I think I'm gonna make a bracket that goes from here up into this aluminum there. And that might be all I'm gonna do, because there's really like no way to bracket it on this side. It's too close, but I think 2 should do it. If it seems too floppy, I'll see what I can do. But at the moment, I think it'll work. Okay, so now you can see what I got going on here. I tweaked this bracket a little bit to get it to fit in there. I've got this nut cert in there, so now I just need to drill. I'm gonna mark that hole, and then I'm gonna drill it, and I'm gonna put a nut cert in the aluminum. Okay, there we have it. It's all mounted in there. It's pretty solid. I think it'll work pretty good. I really like this idea too, because when I'm tuning it, all I have to do is pull this kick panel down, which literally just fucking, you pull on it and it unclips. And then I can get to the port right here to tune it and, you know, just fucking do the thing and then put the cover back on. It's not even a big hassle. Okay, so I've got the all the relays for the adapter mounted right next to the Haltech ECU, and I've got some of this shit kind of ran. I got the Haltech adapter up in there, and I've got the wiring kind of going down this way. I think the plastic will still be able to cover this without any interference. The wiring is just gonna have to kind of go up under there like that. It's not finalized, but it's kind of where it needs to be. This will be tucked up in there, but I've got it wired all in. So 2 of the wires coming off one of the relays has to go to terminal 30, which is power all times. So I have the ignition switch disconnected. Now on the ignition switch, this is an O2 Cooper. It should be the same for all of the R50, R53 variants, but the red ones are terminal 30. They're power all times. Let's see. Got the wiring diagram here. The violet black one should be accessory power that we can run terminal 15 off of, which you can see the violet right there. All right, so I'm digging through the factory wiring harness for the Mini, trying to figure out all the things that I may need. Like, so this one, I've got, it's still kind of attached to a couple spots, but basically I've got the clip for the power steering. There's the oil sender, and then this one's the one for the starter wire. And then on this other one, I've got the one for the coolant temp sensor. And then these are like some ECU grounds for the original DME, which I don't know if I need these. I'm just gonna hook them up anyway. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and I'm de-pinning every single wire on this connector for the DME that I don't need. That way I'm left with only the pieces that I need. And if for some reason I decide I don't need them later, I can just continue to de-pin or just get rid of everything. And then same thing with this one. I'm just gonna get rid of the extra wires that I've got in here that I don't need. I'll just go through and take them out, de-pin them, or just clip them off or whatever. That way I have less wiring to deal with. Okay, so you can see that I've got this whole thing all de-pinned down to just what I need, except for these 3 here. I don't have the right pin tool here, which this one, I think it takes one of those two pin deals that kind of slides down in there to unlock it. I just have some picks here. When depinning these ones are super easy. You just pull this blue thing out and you can just get a pick, and there's just a little tiny piece in there. You just kind of push it to the side and you can just pull the wire right out. It's pretty simple and straightforward. These ones, yeah, like I said, I think I'm gonna have to grab one from work to get that to get undone. But yeah, so I've got it stripped down to, it's literally at this point, I've just got the coolant temp sensor on here. This white wire is signal for the generator, which I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna need that, but I'm wondering if, because this car is CAN bus, if it might be getting its alternator light, like the signal, and this might be the one I need to hook up to. Otherwise, if it's not, I can always just de-pin it later. And then I left these grounds on here. I don't know if they're gonna be important. They might be for the sensor, not sure. So I'm just gonna hook them up anyway. And yeah, go from there. So while going through the wiring and stuff, I was looking at this hole, wondering if the stock Mini Cooper sensor would thread in, and it sure fucking does. It's the same fucking thread pattern. I think it's 3/8 pipe thread. I ran a tap through there just to clean it out a little bit, and yeah, it fucking fits great. So hopefully this is something I actually need. I'm pretty sure that this is it's gonna run the gauge through CAN bus, because I don't see any other sensor that would run it. So hopefully that's what I need. Plus the wiring, it's gonna be just long enough because it's really close to where the original Mini one was. So I think the wiring is gonna reach just fine. I wouldn't even have to modify it. So here's a great tip. So all that extra wiring we took out and all those pins and whatnot, I keep them. I've got a big box of wiring, and it's got like every color in there, got all sorts of sizes. Makes it so easy to build wiring harnesses and add on and add pins and all that stuff, because I got it all right there. I don't have to buy rolls of wire. I mean, I have some rolls of wire in case I don't have enough, but in general, it's just so handy to have. So I started messing around with the battery cables, getting that in there. I cleaned this one all up. and running it in the factory location, which I'm pretty sure I can do. I'm just gonna have to swap out this housing here. It looks like it's gonna reach the starter, but I need to put the starter in to make sure. And then I ran the, I didn't have the power steering lines hooked up, which I just got done running those back down through here for those, the wiring to the main battery cables to the power steering. The other smaller one is on here, which I'm still, I'm waiting until I get more things on before I start putting that stuff in there. But I think now I need to get the starter in and the water pump and all that stuff. I'm gonna put those few things together so that I can get the alternator and the starter wires figured out down here before I start working on the starter wire on the inside. That way I know, how much length I need out here and whatnot. So I was just about to start putting this on for real, and I was like test fitting this because I was trying to figure out where the bolts are at and trying to see if I had the right ones. Well, I put it on there, I was like, man, it feels like it's not fitting the best. Well, it's not. Apparently, I still need to smash this in some more. It's hitting the pulley in a couple different spots. So even though I've caved this frame horn in that far, I still need to cave it in more. So I guess I'm gonna take the water pump off and the intake out of the way and get to hammering. Whew, she's smoky. All right, that's a lot better. So now I guess gonna take this back off and put these pieces back on. I keep thinking I have enough clearance, but I definitely don't, because the alternator was almost hitting right here. I hit it with a hammer, it wasn't moving, so I guess I gotta put the bumper support back on and heat it back up again. Okay, so this is back on here. It clears, it's good. I just made this cable here, basically just daisy chaining the alternator to the starter, which is going to the battery. And then I had to rewire the knock sensor because this harness is meant for the K20, and since this is K24, the knock sensor plug is different, so I was able to chop it off of the cord harness that I have. So on this side of the bay, I was able to reuse one of the factory grounds for the Mini. I can't remember where this came off of on the Mini, but it was definitely engine to chassis. Yeah, this just went from right here on the shifter, the shift selector, and then I just drilled a hole and used a nut cert and cleaned it up really good so it'd have a nice good bite on the ground. Okay, so I've been off camera for like a solid 2 hours because I've been trying to rack my brain around where the starter signal wire is, like where it goes through the harness and where it goes to, because apparently these don't use a start relay. It looks like everything goes through the immobilizer control unit, and the wiring diagrams I have are not the best. They're like very, very German diagrams, so it's very confusing. So I was trying to figure out where everything was going, and then I figured out that the one cable that I had got off of this connector here, that's the one that was originally the starter wire that ran into the immobilizer control unit. And everything was good up to that point, and then I found that the start wire on the ignition switch goes to the immobilizer control unit, and I'm like, okay, so something is causing the immobilizer to not let it start because it wouldn't start. So I'm like, okay, there has to be a park neutral switch somewhere because it was an auto car. And I was looking all over the shifter, like where the wiring is for that, trying to figure that out, and looking all over. The wiring diagrams are just they're so confusing because the wiring diagrams, they literally just show switches and wiring colors, and that's it. Like, there's no labels. It doesn't say what anything does or what it is. And so I'm just tracing them all down, trying to figure out where they go. And so then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to search online, see if I can figure out what the neutral safety switch looks like. Figured it out, and I was like, okay, I don't remember seeing that on the car, but I remember seeing a connector like that. And funny enough, it was the one connector on this harness that I had left in there because I was like, you know what? I don't know what that goes to. It might be important. Well, turns out it goes to the neutral safety switch, which is right above the transmission pan on the transmission. And I plugged it in, still didn't start, and I was like, okay, I'm betting we do this and it fires up. And sure enough, holding that down made it fire. I still can't find a wiring diagram for it. So I'm going to have to test this switch and figure out what goes to what, and then I'm just going to have to bypass it so it'll actually start every time. But in any case, it doesn't run yet, but it cranks as long as I hold that and turn the key. So that's forward direction. I just want you guys to see the ridiculousness that I had to do to get this thing to start because of the way that switches and the wiring isn't very long. So yeah, check this out. Oh yeah. So close, so close. All right, guys, well, I think that's gonna be it for the weekend. I kind of ran out of time. The neutral safety switch kind of tripped me up a little bit for a while, but you know, I figured it out, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. Those wire diagrams definitely could have been better, but I mean, it is what it is, you know, the goofy Germans and their strange ways of doing wire diagrams. But really, I mean, it cranks now, so that's a big plus. I mean, really, it's getting close to running. I just need to finish wiring up the fuel pump relay. I basically just need to run power to it and run wire from there to the fuel pump itself. And then I just need to download the Haltech software on my laptop and upload a base map of some sorts because I haven't done that yet. And then I need to just basically add fluids and just the valve lash. I haven't done that. And just some like valve cover gasket. I still need to pick one of those up. And just some miscellaneous stuff really. But I mean, it's a long way from running or like driving, but running wise, next weekend, it might be it. It might be it, guys. It might run next weekend. We'll see. Not gonna get my hopes up, but it's a strong possibility. I put the stock fuel rail on there for temporary because I don't have that other fuel rail. I won't have any money to order that until the end of the week, but so it'll be another week after that. But I mean, the stock fuel rail, it's hooked up with that factory line and it's been used before and it works. I don't really like that idea. I'm going to be switching out for, you know, an air motive regulator that I showed you guys before, but it's you know, might work. We'll see. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up. And I mean, in the meantime, you know, just make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all those things, and yeah, peace out.